Just after 1:15 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, or 2015 Universal Coordinated Time, on Monday, April 2nd, and you are looking at a live shot of Space Launch Complex 40, where the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is about to launch our Dragon spacecraft, towing 5,800 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station. My name is John Federspiel, and I'm a lead mechanical design engineer here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I am thrilled to be here with you to cover our 14th cargo resupply services mission to the International Space Station. Today, for the second time ever, we are flying both a flight-proven first stage and a flight-proven Dragon. That means both the first stage and Dragon have gone to space before. And with T-minus 12 minutes and 30 seconds and counting, all systems are go at Cape Canaveral. As I mentioned previously, both our first stage and Dragon spacecraft have gone to space before. That Falcon 9 first stage, it looks a little bit sootier at the bottom there. That's because our refurbishment process does not involve us scrubbing that first stage to make it nice and clean. That first stage flew on August 17th, 2017 for our CRS-12 mission, whereas the Dragon spacecraft on top of the vehicle flew on April 8th, 2017 for our CRS-8 mission. Both Dragon and Falcon 9 were designed up front with reflight in mind, so the vehicle hardware is built to support multiple missions with minimal refurbishment in between. As I mentioned previously, the Dragon, the first stage, looks sootier, whereas Dragon, as you see it on your screen, looks brand new. That's because we refurbished the thermal protection system, or TPS, on the exterior to give it that nice white brand spanking new look as you see it now. For today's mission, SpaceX does not plan to recover the first stage. Instead, we're going to be pushing the limits a bit on our return trajectory so that our first stage can collect additional data that will help inform our future reusability efforts. We are going to be performing a landing sequence out in the Atlantic Ocean to gather that data, but there's no drone ship in position for recovery. That means that you may hear some countdown callouts on the countdown net regarding first stage entry, but for our webcast, we will just be focusing on our primary mission. That will be the second stage's journey into orbit and its eventual deployment of Dragon as it makes its journey to the International Space Station. But T-minus 10 minutes and counting right now. The good news is we continue to be on track for an on-time launch, tracking no issues at the moment. This is a Dragon mission, which means we are constrained with an instantaneous launch window. What that means is Dragon and Falcon 9 must lift off at this T0 mark. We don't have an open window with which to recycle the countdown and go again. It's instantaneous because we're trying to time our launch to the point where the International Space Station will be just about directly overhead Cape Canaveral, and then Falcon 9 and Dragon will be basically trying to catch up to the space station with eventual capture at 4 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday. The most significant portion of today's countdown started at the T-minus 70 minute mark, where our launch control team was pulled at Cape Canaveral to enter into the propellant loading sequence. Now, as you may recall, in order to make fire, you need three elements: fuel, oxygen, and an ignition source. Our fuel for Falcon 9 is RP1, that's refined kerosene. And as we're sitting right now, both our first and second stages are nearly full of RP1. We will continue to top them off up until about the T-minus 5 minute mark on that first stage. We also carry densified liquid oxygen that's cryogenically cooled. That's actually those clouds coming off the rocket. That's the liquid oxygen boiling off. Right now on the pad, we're sitting at nearly full of liquid oxygen on our first stage, and about 95% full, 90% full on our second stage. We will continue to load liquid oxygen up until about the T-minus 3 minute mark. We also load on helium on board both stages. That's what we keep the tanks pressurized with as we're emptying it of propellant. Dragon, meanwhile, ready to go. It began its auto sequence at T-minus 35 minutes. That's where it begins its coordinated timing. It's moving into internal power, just transitioned that period right now. Everything looking good to go there. Range, also ready to go. Weather, looking pretty good. We were tracking some anvil clouds earlier, but it looks like any constraints that could affect today's launch will be actually after our T0 mark. Weather team is continuing to monitor these anvil clouds, but as of right now, no constraints for today's mission. So overall, we continue to be go from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. "11 years ago, Dragon was just a design on a piece of paper. But in 2010, SpaceX became the first private company to send a spacecraft to orbit and return it to Earth. 2 years later, in 2012, soon after I started at SpaceX, a Dragon became the first privately developed spacecraft to visit the ISS. Since then, we've made a total of 13 trips to the space station, and we're under contract with NASA for a total of 20 cargo resupply missions. We are currently flying cargo to the space station, but ultimately, we will fly astronauts on crew missions with our